I'm here again at Rebuild21, and today is all about rebuilding education. Later, I will also have a talk with Jack Nichol, who's the founder of Threadless.com. I'm Julie Turan, and you're watching Make Change TV. Welcome. And I'm here with Jerry Michalski, and we're going to talk about rebuilding education. It's great to have you on Make Change TV.
Thank you very much.
So let's first talk about what has happened to us with the educational system.
Sure. We started, and I'll take a little bit of a US perspective, but this is true in cultures around the world. We started with informal education and small local education that was working pretty well. In the US, we had tons and tons of little one-room schoolhouses. What was nice about them was that children of different ages would teach each other. And you know, the teacher would say, okay, you guys do this, you guys do that, you guys do that. I'm gonna focus on this one child over here. That worked really quite well. Then somewhere around 1850 to 1910, in that period, we started to apply industrial logics and military logics, it turns out, to the educational system. And we built this compulsory education system that we have today, where the kids bounce between classrooms like pachinko balls all day long. They can't ever settle on something and actually do it for 4 hours, you know, intensively. Where we separate the children into one-year grade classes, where we limit the materials that can be taught in the classroom. We have a certified curriculum that is approved by school boards, and politics has entered the school board system. So over and over again, we're creating scarcity at every level, and worse than that, at least in the US and I think worldwide, the recent financial crises, the different waves of financial crisis have reduced the budget for all of this. So we've gotten rid of all the interesting courses, that we're not teaching art, we're not teaching music. If the school is in a wealthy neighborhood, the parents come together and they pay for an art teacher. And then other kids don't get that. So the school system is pretty much a mess. Test scores are down, and our answer to that has been to test more.
Yeah,
and to just turn up the volume on test scores and see if that won't help fix it. And the problem is that the school system is congenitally broken, that there's a hidden curriculum of what we're really being taught, which is obedience, dependence, lack of confidence. Because if you're actually confident and want to go do something in the middle of class, you might end up in the principal's office.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a mess.
So now we're going to make a change about that.
We're trying.
We're trying, and you're talking about deschooling.
Deschooling or unschooling,
unschooling, actually. Can you explain about that?
So school, everybody understands, because most of us went to a regular school. Homeschool, most people understand, because it means, okay, you're at home and maybe the father or the mother or both are teaching the children, there's a curriculum, you have tests, you may even get the test from a school or a third party. People sort of understand that. Unschooling is way over here. It's much more radical, and it's about child-led learning. And often with no particular program for what we're going to learn today. You just go out in the world, and the world, as it turns out, is full of beautiful lessons. Now, what this means is you have to trust that children are born curious and pretty good, that what they want more than anything is to learn how they fit into society, what they're really good at, and how to make something that has consequence. What we do in school is we remove them from the world, we put them in this little petri dish that's become a penitentiary, and where their actions have no consequence. Then we ask them to write papers where the only person who's going to read the paper is the teacher, and 80% of the time, you don't really like your teacher. Like, I ask people all the time, how many teachers do you really remember from your career? That's like 5. That's crazy, right? So we're asking children to perform like trained monkeys in a system that's like a jail, when we could be doing all these other interesting things.
Yeah. So a lot of people also talk about whether this is a reformation, you know, that you want to make reforms when it comes to educational system, or revolution.
Right.
So what's your view on that? Do we need a revolution when it comes to educational system?
The system, as I see it, is congenitally broken. It's designed from a broken way of seeing the world, as if it were a factory. So let's make a school like a factory. So in that sense, we need a revolution. We need to totally overthrow the system. Yeah. Let's be pragmatic a second. You will breathe many a long day before any school board or large school bureaucracy changes, before you're able to pass laws that completely change everything. So I take a much more pragmatic approach, and I say, let's build a big, beautiful safety net outside of the school system. Let's build a learning environment that is rich, that has new business opportunities, that has a lot of open content shared, new commons content, where anybody could learn anything, pretty much anything, for very little money. And let's nourish that so that it just thrives. And it's going to take a while. It's going to take a couple decades until people start realizing that, wow, that's really powerful, it's really inexpensive, and it's turning out very well-adjusted, smart people. So I think that, yes, it's a revolution, but you will die trying to overturn or change the current set of bureaucracies and institutions. There's too many of them, they're too entrenched, and you can't get enough critical mass to change them. Yeah. So work outside, and then they'll be attracted to it.
Because it's also about changing the mindset. And the way I see it's not only about rebuilding education, it's really about reconnecting and rebuilding humanity. Because
totally,
politics, links together with education. Everything links together.
All of this is tied together.
Yeah.
What we really want is intelligent citizens.
Exactly.
Where citizenship implies mutual responsibility. It implies that we're trying to build a civilization, whatever that means. And if you start thinking that what we want is smart citizens, you go about educating differently, right?
Yeah.
I went to normal schools through most of my educational career, and I have pretty poor self-discipline. And I think that's true of a ton of people who are educated, who have credentials and degrees. So one of the interesting things about being responsible for your own education is that you start to have to learn self-mastery. You have to know yourself, and you have to know how to manage yourself. Now, if what you learn is that you really need discipline, and you decide that you're going to go sign up to a military academy or a martial arts school or whatever, and it might be very difficult, but if you've chosen to do it, phenomenal, I'm completely on board, go crazy. Yeah. But our default is to plug everybody into a mandatory system where nobody's going to show up healthy at the end of it. So your choice to learn about these things is important. Now, we don't spend an awful lot of time in the school system trying to figure out learning styles, helpful infrastructure for learning better, creating collaborative cohorts for learning, none of that. No time is spent really on any of that. I read a beautiful article by a woman who'd been unschooled at home, basically, and she finally decided to go to school at a college. And she was very excited, because finally she was going to go find a community of learners to be part of and to learn with. And she gets there, and the kids are saying, does the paper have to be 3 pages long? And nobody's on fire about learning anything, or very few people are, and she was totally disillusioned. Yeah. From a life of being curious and following her instincts and learning stuff wherever, right? And early self-learners have had to be really independent and resourceful. We have the internet now. Yeah. Like, it's very easy to find groups of like-minded people. There are so many meaningful projects in the world that need hands on deck that if you can't find one, try again, right? And finding one means having the initiative to go out and connect with some of these things, and that takes effort, and some people don't have that kind of fire inside maybe, so let's work on that. But there's endless opportunity on the table right now. We need to help people even see that it exists and help them understand that they have permission, authority, agency to go do it.
Is it possible to build the best educational system? Is it possible? Is that the best?
I don't know that there is a best educational system. To me, learning is learning at whatever age. So from cradle to hospice. If somebody wants to learn something, if I wanted to learn French and I'm 3 years old or I'm 73 years old, the process is not that different. And if a 73-year-old wanted to learn French with a 3-year-old and they got along and they wanted to do, awesome. It's like tremendous. So I think our artificial barriers about learning is different here, we need different institutions, different structures, and now all these little gates and artificial barriers and things we do might eventually go away. So what we'll have then is a learning web, a learning infrastructure, a learning environment. And that isn't that hard to build.
Yeah.
What's hard about it is getting the culture to appreciate or accept that it works, and that it's meaningful, and that it's an alternative, and that maybe they don't have to go to normal school in the normal way.
Because what I also hear you saying is more like, because the way I see it's more like every child has a purpose. We all have a purpose in life. So what's needful is to create a learning environment that
bring
support,
that out.
Exactly.
Totally.
Let the child find it and bring it out and become a whole person, your holistic learning.
I'm reading a book about African wisdom. It's called The Healing Wisdom of Africa by Malidoma Somé. And he says, in his tribe, the Dagara of Western Africa, they believe that every child brings a gift to the village.
Exactly.
And they actually interview the pregnant mother. They put her in a trance and they talk to the child to find out what this mission is. And often the baby is named in that process.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
So
it's a
amazing.
very different worldview.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's very much about how does the community then help bring out that gift in the child. Exactly. So they may be wrong about what the mission was, but they're very intent on it's our job together to help this child fulfill this gift.
Yeah. So for me, it's also really about improving the quality, focus on the quality in education rather than quantity, how many degrees, how many grades you have, etc. like that. And I really share your vision about building a school system or a school learning environment that is really embracing us as a whole human being. So now I really want to get started. So what is the first step?
Good. So the first step is to go to where this activity is already happening. And it's happening in a lot of different places, some of which are not labeled educational system. So one place it's happening a lot is in the world of self-organizing conferences. So open space, bar camp, there's a whole lot of names to this, unconferencing. And this is a method for people to come together and do something active together around a goal, because usually a good self-organizing event has some goal that everybody's there for. So go participate in those. Go find out how to do that. If you wanted to learn Mandarin Chinese, if you wanted to learn how to program in Java, if you wanted to learn other things, there's all sorts of new ways of doing that are available. So go find those out and start to link to them, make them a part of your learning environment. The weird thing that's, I think, really easy but hard conceptually is to find colleagues who'd like to learn with you, to find people to learn with. And everybody wants this. I mean, there's a few people who just want, show me the program, I want to learn this by myself, and I'll get it done. Great, and they should, if they want to do that, they should do that. But so many people learning is social. And when you learn things with people, either by teaching them or teaching each other, or dividing up the work and coming back together, or doing a real project that has consequence in the world, terrific, go do that. Now, the cool thing is that because of the internet, if you wanted to go do astronomy, if you wanted to go do biology, if you wanted to go program little robots that move around, if you wanted to fly drones and take pictures and publish them on the web, it is all right at hand. It is not expensive. There are telescopes around the world that are there for students to aim. You just put in coordinates, the pictures that they take are sent to you and made available probably publicly. And the astronomy, for example, is now counting on amateurs. It has completely changed astronomy because astronomers have more eyes in space. So when a new star is named, it has two names. The first name is the person who first spotted it. The second name is the person who saw it again and confirmed that it's a new object. Usually the second name is an experienced astronomer at an observatory and the first is an amateur.
Wow, that's amazing.
Amateurs have completely changed astronomy. Do it yourself or garage biology. For $5,000 or $6,000, you can buy a PCR machine, a polymerase chain reaction machine that lets you splice DNA. You can buy one for $5,000 or $6,000. You could share that in a hobby group, right? And you can now begin to actually make strands of organic material. Couldn't do that before.
No.
It's nuts. So there's people doing garage biology now, just experimenting, making stuff, learning what it means, how it works. So the cost bar and the access bar has fallen right above the ground. It's unbelievable how simple this is. If you stop thinking, I must go to this institution, and if they don't approve me through the approval process, my career is over, I'm a failure. If you need to jump up the fish ladder steps, as everybody's been doing for years, you're probably going to be disappointed somewhere along the road, right? But if you start to see the world as a place where you can be curious and where your actions can have a consequence as you learn, and as you learn, you're helping other people do their investigation, we're done.
Yeah, it's really about learning, life learning.
Totally.
It's really about that.
And about being connected to life, being connected to one another, and having your actions have consequence.
Yeah. I think I also read a quote once about teaching. you teach what you need to learn the most. So that's also a kind of reframe the role of teacher as well,
Right.
because sometimes teaching and learning is actually, sometimes it's the same thing actually.
Totally. The best
Yeah.
teachers are learning as they teach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Thank you so much for the
You're very
inspiring
welcome.
talk.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah.